Hello, friends. Welcome back to the VLS with me, myself, cute noob, and Wumby. Hi,
Hi, I'm 1B.
Wumby. How are you feeling today about these matches?
I'm feeling good. It's been a while since I've casted Valorant. It's been a couple weeks. I've been trying to take a not I haven't been trying to take a break from this game. I just have not been casting it as of recently. So I'm excited to be back here. And I mean, it's for the quarterfinals of VLS, and what a better time to make my return.
Yeah, playoffs are going to be insane. We do have two banger teams. One that's undefeated and one that's making their way up to the top. But before we talk about that, there is a little bit of a shift. For example, we did see a little bit of fade in the past broadcast. I know we've been off for a couple of streams. Sometimes schedule gets a little bit complicated, fans. Don't worry. But now that we are back on track, are you hoping to see more fade here, Wumby?
Um, Yeah, Fade is kind of an interesting topic, especially when you pit her up against agents like Sova, for example, because I know that is the comparison is who would you prefer, Fade or Sova, and that's very dependent on the maps. There are some maps where Sova just isn't good in that you could bring a Fade in. For example, well, we won't see Split in the near future, but Split is a good example of a map where Fade is good on and Sova just isn't good on. Icebox is a map for Sova. It isn't really nice. It isn't really a map for Fade, though you could bring her because there's a lot of close corners. Um, I love seeing the way that she's played. When it and the innovations that teams try to do with her and how they fit her into certain compositions. As for if I'm excited to see her, I don't know. Like, it's kind of a funny topic. It's like I'm excited to see any agent really.
Yeah, absolutely. On the right hands, it's always going to be a really great character. Before we get talking a little bit more about the teams, I do want to bring up the fact that our fall split is going to be opening up. Actually, opens up today. If you guys are interested, there is going to be a League of Legends split. There's going to be, I believe they kind of split it between higher rank and if you're anywhere below D3 or Plat 4, you can get into the VASL league. If you're D4, then you can get into the VRS LOL. And then if you are 1 GM, then you can get into the VTS LOL. And then for Valorant as well, we do split it off between anyone who is above D3 is going to be the cap for VRS, and then uncapped is going to be the VLS. So if you guys are interested, make sure you head on over to victoris.gg/VASLOL if you're interested in the league, or victoris.gg VLS for VRS Val for Valorant. There you go. I'm sorry. Names are hard here. The closing gate for that is going to be August 10th. So make sure that you are keeping your eye on that. If you are seeing these teams and are like, yo, I could totally take them on, then right now is your chance to sign up. Any other comments on that league opening up, Wambi? Maybe what have you experienced? Because I know you've been casting the lower VRS as well. And I think you've been casting league as well, right?
No, I haven't been casting
Oh,
League.
just kidding. Totally.
I don't even play.
Whoops.
See, that is an. I'll take that as an insult. I can't believe you assume that I play
What?
League.
Yeah. All our
No,
league
but
fans are going wild.
yeah, I mean, the only thing I could say is I encourage anybody to sign up. If you have a group of friends that you're comfortable playing with, this is a good opportunity for you to grow as a player. I'm not that involved in comp myself, but I wish I had been earlier just to improve my skills and improve my knowledge on the game. And I feel like if you do sign up, even if you don't make it, you'll go through the qualifiers, you'll gain a lot of experience, and you'll come out a better player because of it. So I encourage anybody out there who's in the chat to sign up as my earbud falls out of my ear to sign up and look to learn from the tournament. Rather, I mean, you want to qualify, but look to learn as well as you're going through the brackets and whatnot.
Yeah, you never know what may come out of it. But let's go into talking about the quarterfinals. We have all tons of fans here. I know you guys are waiting to hear who made it off to the playoffs if you haven't been keeping track. So we have Overdose Gaming, who is actually going up against Fluid Gaming today. Noxus versus Colossal Gaming. I'm blanking on who they were, but Colossal Gaming was another team that played in the VLS, and I'm just blanking. But Moving on, Akuma at Esports versus Nameless Esports. That's who you're going to be seeing today. It's going to be a best of three. And then we have V.exe versus Esports at UCD Gold. Teams that have been absolutely just popping off. Just overall, ODG was 7-1. For Akuma Gaming, they're the 8-0, and Nameless is 4-4. Like I said, they're a team that are looking to create one of the biggest upsets of the season if they to make it into the semis. A little bit of expectations from your side, Wumby?
Mm, um, I don't really know. Last game out for Nameless Esports, I believe it was that we're casting today. They had a good win over Colossal Gaming. Last time out in the round of 12. If I can't remember their name is Cal. You know what? What's the name again? Cat. You know what? I can't pronounce that word.
Catalyst?
Catalyst? Is it Catalyst? Catalysism Gaming. You know what? CG. Their name is CG. I'm gonna call them
Yes,
CG.
there you go.
CG
Names are hard.
Nameless, and they won that in a convincing 2-0 fashion.
Mhm.
Um, and I know Akuma in the first seed in
Mhm.
Group B at the moment. They remain undefeated throughout the whole entire season. So this will be a tough game for Nameless, but I feel like they could give Akuma a run for their money because the last time we saw them play, that was against Noxious, and they had a good game. I thought it was a 2-1 loss. There were a lot of flaws, but there were a lot of positives that they could have taken away from that game, despite them losing it out. And I feel like Akuma, this might not be a breeze for them as a lot of people might think. If you're like if you're into VLS, if you're consistently watching it, you might come into this thing saying that Akuma is the favorite, but I think Nameless could give them a run for their money.
Ooh. Well, let's talk about map compositions because we are not going to see Pearl. Don't worry, folks. Pearl is not going to make its presence quite yet. Or I don't suppose. I mean, it is in the competitive, but I don't think we're allowing it into the VLS because it's so brand new. But what maps do you want to see coming out from either one of these teams, and why do you think they would choose those?
Um, let's see. The last time I saw Nameless play, it was Haven, Bind, and Split. They did pretty well on Haven. They won that map, and they had a lot of good innovations, especially with their pushes on the attack, where there were times where they was switching up between site to site to site. They didn't have a favorite site. They always kept Noxious uh guessing. So I think Haven would be a good map for them. I'd even go out and say that Split would be a decent map for them. They did lose that one against Noxious as well as Bind. I don't want to see Bind for them because they had a lot of negatives in that map, and I just didn't think they looked good on it whatsoever, whether that be on the attack and defense. There are a lot of issues on the attack on Bind where they struggled to make an entry, and you would think of Bind as this really aggressive map because of how small it is. It forces you to not really face check. You have to check your corners. You have to use a lot of gadgetry and all of that stuff. But it seemed like they were very timid on Bind, which you don't
Mhm.
necessarily want to be, especially if you're playing around or behind a bunch of util, behind a bunch of intelligence that you're expending in order to break down the defense. So Bind isn't going to be a map that we see. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Fracture just because it might throw Akuma off if Nameless were to want to pick it. But for Akuma, I'm not too sure. They seem like a team that's good on every map if they're undefeated so far in the league.
Yeah, last two maps that Akuma ended up playing were a Bind, which how funny you just mentioned Bind. I would assume that they do want to do Bind because they did so phenomenal. 13-3, that is a statement. And not only that, but they also did bring the kind of double controller combo, which a lot of teams don't normally do. I'm pretty surprised that Oh, it also looks like Pumpkin's gonna be sitting out on this one. Last time they played Bind, Pumpkin was in there, but this time Pumpkin's gonna sit out. So maybe we might not see that double controller. They did have like that Viper and the Brimstone. I guess to be able to potentially lock down both sides. Also with the Brimstone on your side, you get to really push a site like you were talking about. So I'm assuming that that is kind of Akuma's kind of way of doing things is just go for it. I mean, mind you, they were playing another team, which was UCD, who is in the playoff brackets. But for the side of Nameless, they seem to, like you said, Haven seems to be their okay map. Last time they played it against Noxious, very close, very, very close. But I am looking to Toshi as washed, who was pretty phenomenal. 25, 13, and 2, 5 first bloods. That was a pretty big statement. But they did like take it the long run, right? Like they didn't just sweep the map, which makes me think that's kind of where let's say Akuma does get into a pickle and they lose a map, they're not going to sweat it because they know that Nameless is known to take it to the third map. So they're going to be able to potentially want to get rid of them in 2-0. I would, if I was Akuma at this point, I'd be like, all right, if we can get rid of them in 2 maps, then we're good. We don't even have to sweat it. If they go on to the third map, I was meaning to say, then I would be a little bit worried if I was Akuma, because Nameless is known to go to those third maps. And players that you want to look out for the side of either one, Nameless or Akuma.
I'll start with Nameless because I have a lot more experience with casting them, so it's a little
Yeah.
bit easier for me to pickpocket which player I'd want to watch. Toshi, obviously, I believe he is the nope, he's not the captain of the team. Sorry, that's All Star, but he is a really good entry fragger. We saw him against Noxious, where Noxious had are a team that's known for their dominance in terms of like their first bloods and their entry games. And Toshi gave them a run for their money in that game. He was really good on his entries. He was really good at grabbing those early bloods. But I smell he was like really, really good as well on the controller picks, especially on Haven. I remember he was Omen and he was really good with his movement. As I remember, you want your Omen to be very good on movement. You want them to be very good in the lurker role. And I felt like he did a phenomenal job. So I'm looking at both of those players. I mean, anybody could show up on Nameless, but they have to play together as a team to beat a team as dominant as Akuma.
Yeah. And talking about movement, it's funny that you talk about movement because Degrees is the king of movement, actually. I know that's a lot. That's like a really big statement made by me. I saw your face. But the reason why I say this is Degrees plays duelist. And not just any duelist. Jet and Raze. Now, yes, those are, you're going to be like, cute noob, those are like the most basic duelists that any team can have. But they're basic because if you're great at your movement, then you're going to really capitalize on any team with Raze on bind for Degrees all over the map. 17-8, 3 first bloods, 299 combat score. That means was in there, making sure to get those kills, creating that space for your team, which then allows your team to be secure and be like, yo, if my Raze goes on site, then I'm going to follow on through and get those plants down. So I would say Degrees is someone to look out for. Now, mind you, like I stated, there is going to be a sub going in for Pumpkin. Pumpkin is actually sitting in the coach's seat at this moment as we are speaking, which then kind of makes me feel, all right, well, Pumpkin is known to be the it controller. Plays Omen, plays Brimstone. I wanna let's see. Friend X is actually going to be the person subbing in for Pumpkin. We don't have a lot of information on friend X, unfortunately. But I am expecting a lot of things coming out of friend X, which is going to be putting a lot of pressure because if your sub Pumpkin was 16, 12, and 8 and had a combat score of 293 on a Brimstone on Bind, then that means you have a lot to live up to right here, right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, you do, when we talk about duelists and entry fraggers, especially for FPS games, you usually note them, or a lot of teams would note, or a lot of players, especially viewers, would note them to their ability to get kills and whatnot. But it's a little bit more than that. You want to be able to have somebody who's able to create space for you, not afraid to die and go inside of the site to be able to make that space for you, and also has good enough aim in order to get those first bloods and first entries. And Degrees is that guy for Akuma. Now, as for the rest of these players, they have to be in first place for some reason, and it can't just be down to one player. Everybody on this team has to be like some sort of insane. I don't know what they're eating for breakfast, but I mean, I know what I'm eating for breakfast. You know what I eat for breakfast? I ate sausage and eggs and a biscuit.
Oh,
I usually
I
don't
don't.
eat breakfast. I'm very unhealthy.
It's weird. I think it really depends on your body type, right? Like if
Yeah.
you can run without breakfast and coffee only, good for you. I think that's the best way to go about. But if you are kind of on the slower side, I think breakfast will definitely boost that energy and that kind of movement for you. I had oatmeal for breakfast. Oatmeal with some yogurt and some mango. It was
That just sounds
delicious.
fancy. That sounds fancy.
It was delicious. It was delicious. So as you can tell, I'm radiating hype because I'm so excited about this. The two duelists that we're gonna keep an eye for, Degrees versus Toshi. That's gonna be the battle of the duelists. Who's gonna be greater? Who's gonna create that space for their team? And we do have some pick and bans. Starting off with the ban from Nameless is gonna be Fracture. So I'm sorry, it's not gonna be a Fracture here, 1B. Don't cry. Don't cry. It's
No, it's
okay.
fine. You know what? It's kind of funny that I like watching Fracture, but I absolutely hate playing that map. It's not necessarily confusing for me, but if you're on a defense, it's a hellhole, especially if the attacking team goes into one site and you're all the way on the other. It takes a hell of a
Yeah.
lot of time to be able to rotate. So to be able to get that off of the board, that's very interesting. As for the second map, Cute Noob, I mean, what do we have here?
We're gonna ban uh Haven. Actually, no
Oh,
Haven for either one of these teams. You talked about Akuma being the one who really likes Haven, correct? Or was it? I'm sorry. Am I messing this up?
Toshi.
Toshi. Toshi, aka
Nameless.
Nameless is the one that actually really enjoys Haven. So that's going to be taken out by Akuma. So Akuma must have done their homework and said, we know your Haven is pretty solid, so we're just not even going to have to deal with it. We're not going to have to deal with the 3 sites. We're not going to have to deal with Toshi being all over the place and being able to bait out. So goodbye to Haven. And the last, it's going to be Breeze. So we're not going to see any new maps, unfortunately.
It's an interesting. I mean, it's not an interesting ban so far. A lot of teams do not like Breeze just because it forces you to play long angles and you have to have good aim in order to use the operators. It's like Fracture as well, and in the sense that it takes a long time to rotate in between sites. It's easy for the attackers to make a lot of space due to how big and vast and open the map is. So that may just be a map that Nameless aren't comfortable on as for our picks, because Icebox is the last one banned, which makes me a little bit sad. Noob, the first map that we're going to be going to is Split.
I'm so excited. I love Split. Riot, me and you, we're gonna have to get on the boxing ring and throw hands because the fact that you got rid out of Split out of the map pool for competition makes me so mad. I love Split. I love the fact that you have to really play a lot of mind games on it. Yes, mid control is essential. I get it. It gets a little bit tough, and if you end up on the attack first, it's a little roughy toughy, all right? We all know that it's a defender sided map. If you don't get enough points on attack, then you're basically having to do most of the work on that defense. And if you can't because it gets too much out of control, then you're basically done. But I think that this map. It kind of requires the team to really have a really good team composition, as I believe we're heading right into Agent Select. Thank you, producer. We appreciate you.
Oh,
Actually, no, scratch that. Somebody ended up disconnecting. But I was saying, Split, a map that's going to require a lot of mental warfare. If you can bait out a team to completely rotate or over rotate, over peak, then you get an easy kill, and that's a man advantage in this case. So can that happen? Who's going to be the winner? I'm not quite sure just yet. What are your expectations here? Why don't we do predictions? Since we don't have a host, we'll do the predictions.
I don't know. I said at first that I thought Nameless could give Akuma a run for their money, and I still think that they will do, but Akuma looks really, really good. Stats-wise, they look good on the standings. I'm going to have to go with the 2-1 for Akuma.
2-1 for Akuma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Um, Oh, I want to believe in the Toshi and the Toshi lead, and I want to believe that. Oh, we also have a sub. We forgot to talk about that. Also, is the fact that there is a sub for Nameless. Raiden is coming in, subbing in. So is Raiden and Toshi gonna be the secret weapons for Nameless? I don't know. With a team that's 8-0, their ego must be off the rockets. I want to say it's gonna be. I believe in Degrees and Frank's the new controller subbing in as well. So I'm gonna go with the 2-0. You're being nice here, 1B. You're saying 2-1. I'm gonna say 2-0. But I don't want Nameless to be like, these casters hate us. We don't hate you, Nameless. We are putting you,
On
we're
the
putting
best.
extra pressure on you so that you can succeed. Can you succeed under the pressure?
You see, I said it'd be close. You said it'd be a 2-0. So who really hates Nameless here? No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, we're going into Agent Select for both of these teams, and Nothing too surprising. You do see the Cypher. He's not played a lot, but on a map like Split, I feel like he's pretty pivotal, especially for the defense. When you consider his cameras, whether an attacking team wants to sell a fake or not, he's very good at catching that fake out. He also has his own smokes, which is a plus, and then you have the
Select
Omen
your
for
agent.
Akuma, and then when you look at Nameless's side, there it looks like they're hovering over that Sage, and you know what? I don't mind the Sage pick on this map. I really, really love Sage on Split.
Yeah, with this team, with Akuma's team composition, and Nameless team composition, we talked about if having to get those rounds on attack in order for your job on defense to be a little less heavy, if I may say, because okay, if you can get some rounds on attack, then you feel safe going into that defense because this is a defensive sided map. With the composition of Nameless, I like the Sage because they're thinking about that mid control and they're going to be able to obtain it with that Sage wall just to buy enough time for that mid push not to happen so quickly. Also, with the Fade and with the Raze, I'm kind of thinking that they're going to want to go for either a lot of baits or a lot of dispositioning for the side of Akuma. If they can get some of those sneaky little spots and don't have to worry about it, then they're going to be able to hit that side very hard. But on the side of the defense for Akuma, I'm a little bit worried that lack of Sentinel. Yes, you have the Cypher, but the Cypher player can only hold anyone for so long. And once it gets destroyed with either a Boomba or some nades, then it's really done for. You don't really have anyone really sustaining that spot. So to have that breach mid, trying to help out control that section, seems about right.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the breach pick as well, there's no confusion onto that as well. There's a lot of lineups, a lot of cover to hide behind, and a lot of cover to hide behind as the breach in order to get those lineups off. And he's really, really good at zoning the attackers out of specific areas, but early control in mid for the attackers. And I mean, this is to be expected considering the lineup that we do have from Akuma.
We're going to start off with the Lear here, not gonna give away any body from Nameless. Nameless slowly making their way. There was some footsteps, so Akuma knows that there's someone nearby. It's gonna be the shotgun for Demo, but hey, it did not quite connect. Now it's gonna be a push here as Franks gets caught out with a classic right click. They're gonna move onto the site. There is already two bodies onto the site. No one from Akuma to really defend. They're actually just all backing up, ready to take on site together.
Pretty interesting. They got early control of mid and then decided to go through Vince himself. The shotgun not being able to hold him off, nor is the Omen on top of the ramp. Here comes the retake. As the spike is planted, they're gonna have to spend some time breaking that and save wall, but they run right into a crossfire that is set up from Nameless. So far, so good from the attacking team, and they've completely rolled over this Akuma defense in the very first round of Split.
And we start to see kind of where that mid control might have helped out a lot for Akuma. They gave up the mid, which allowed them to get the pick off vents, and once they overwhelmed Franks over onto A ramps, then there was no one else left on site. It's going to be a little bit of rotations here as we see the defending side of Akuma. They're going to bring the Raze over to the A site. They're going to bring Omen. Omen's still kind of figuring out where they want to go here, but they definitely need someone to hold on to that mid, because if there's not anyone there, they're going to be overran once again.
Yeah, there was nobody in mid, like you said. There was a player in Vince just holding off for that rotation in case it came from Nameless, in which it did. So Akuma did read into that the fact that there were going to be a couple of players going
bring them down.
Vince, and they had a shotgun player holding that, ready to spray down a couple of players, but unfortunately they couldn't get their shots off. Nor was nobody there in case of a refrag potential, but it looks to be a split take for them. Toshi gonna be lurking over by A. He's gonna get shot up a little bit so they know about his position. He's gonna be heavily pressed. The fault line coming, and he's gonna pull out his knife, go through Vince itself, but no push on the other side from Nameless, despite that distraction from Toshi pulling in most of the Akuma esports players.
Yeah, very weird at the fact that they're just kind of baiting out. They baited a lot of to start off, Akuma was already force stacking that A site, right? All they had to really worry about on that B was
Teleport's
Cypher,
ready.
but there wasn't enough information collected by the side of Nameless to really give them that, hey, we should push this. So now they're making their way over onto this A site. They did caught
30
that
seconds
double
left.
rotation, so they're gonna get this site for free as can be.
Okay, now here comes the retake. Those better guns in the hands of Nameless Esports. Fault line goes out. There goes the haunt in order to grab some more
Right there.
intel for the attackers
Spike
as they set
planted.
themselves up for the post play. Toshi's still in that A short position. Isn't gonna find the kill, but instead finds himself dead. And now we have a player in the middle of the site. There goes Demo. A couple of kills. Rating Smelly with 2. Menace with 1. And now we find ourselves in a 1v2. Frank's though 34 HP. And a dream. And a class.
One
Free gun,
enemy
by the way.
remaining.
And he gets a kill with it. That's insane. But he might not have enough time on the diffuser. The last player is going to be on elbow. There's just not enough time left. He doesn't know what rating is.
It's not. Oh my goodness. Turn around. There it is. Second point on the board for Nameless, which, by the way, they were buying up, but this was a costly round here. 1B. They bought up to Spectres. They lost 4 players. That means you're going onto this kind of janky bias. We can see some sheriffs coming out of Ghost. Light shields for the side of Nameless, but now this is the round where Akuma really gets to wake up and really figure out, okay, they're going to be on a safe round. This should be ours. Let's not overextend. I'm a little bit worried about what their comms are at this point, 1B, because there has to be a lot of miscommunication. The fact that they all over-rotated, not once, but twice, is what makes me feel a little bit concerned.
Yeah, they also used a lot of utility on Toshi, and that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but again, it was the over-rotation from all of Akuma Esports. Nobody hanging back on A to maybe, you know, see if there were, to get that confirmation of Nameless attacking the A site itself. But, again, looks like Nameless wants to test out their option or not going or committing to a site quite yet, just like how they didn't do that in the second round.
Yeah, they're very patient. They're very kind of. It's almost like a song, right? Like they go one side and then they go another. They're dancing. They're ready for this party. And this party, the side of Akuma, is a little bit lackluster. They did waste a couple of utility, that Boombot, and also that fault line as well. So now they don't have to worry about that. Toshi with the headhunter gets the A player, so no more Cypher utility over onto that A site. It's gonna be this mid push. Degrees goes in deep, gets a kill as Raiden tries to push into that B site. They were expanded.
Player
Fade
standing.
for Fade.
30 seconds left.
Just that's one. Make that none.
Interesting there, right? Because, like, they both, like, the thing about it was that Toshi got the very first pick. And then it seemed like once Toshi got that pick, Nameless were like, okay, A is free. They knew it was free because it technically was, because the Cypher of Demo was the only player that existed on A. He died, and so the rotation came in from Nameless, but the one thing that really, really did screw them over was the gun disadvantage, the gun fights that they took against Akuma. They lost all of them, especially through mid. 3 players died through mid, and look, Akuma, they profit off of that gun advantage.
Shadows traveling.
Do indeed, but there is something in the back pocket of Shattered. It's going to be that Rolling Thunder as soon as the confirmation comes on through from his teammate that they are there. It's ready to go, as you can see, lined up to the point. Frankix, does get that kill off of Ice Smelly over onto that B main, so man, it's advantage for Nameless here as they're still continuing to aggress this mid. Boombot goes out through. Teleportation coming out from Raiden. Rolling Thunder meets them at the door, and that is going to be
Spike down mid.
Oh! Okay. Trying to save himself. All-Star there walls himself off, but unfortunately does not keep him alive for long. And now it's just 2 players remaining for Nameless.
Satchel out.
I was very curious decision from the stage.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Gotta stay alive.
He was gonna, I mean, the Sage was gonna die either way, because the Aftershock was prepared from the breach from Akuma. Not only 2 players alive, it doesn't look like they wanna do anything, because the spike isn't even anywhere near them. It's in control of Akuma in mid.
30 seconds left.
I mean, you gotta give them credits to do. They get that first pick in Garage, so that Garage lurk is eliminated, and then 2 players aggress through mid, and one of them just so happened to have the diffuser. And then they both died just off of an amazing Rolling Thunder from Shatter to enforce that aggression that came out from the Akuma players later on.
And
10
it makes
seconds
sense
left.
that Nameless wants to save here. As you can see, Toshi does have that operator in hands. So you don't want to gamble with that. That's a very expensive weapon. And if you can keep it for the following round, it's going to give your team a breathing room. Linux here just helping out a friend, making sure that they don't go down together. So they are going to have those 2 hero weapons. They're also going to have that from the shadows and the nightmare come out if they wish to use it. And something that I want to give kudos to for the side of Akuma is the fact that they're keeping that mid control, right? We talk about split, mid control. If you can hold on to it, it's going to reward you, and they were rewarded there once again. Now, though, they have to worry about, okay, they're probably not going to want to go mid, and they're also going to want to not over peak because they're the ones who have the weapon advantage at this point.
Yeah, I mean, first 2 rounds for Akuma, mid control was pretty sorry for them when they were trying to hold on to it. And now it's been a lot better. I mean, what's been a lot better is their ability to get entry picks, as well as I don't really know what the race was doing. Just rushes in through the smoke with her feet sticking out. Easy first pick for the breach, and an easy entry for Akuma at the start of this round. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm questioning that too. Why push a single way smoke? I have no idea. And they are just trying to. It makes sense that they just want to try to create some rotations here from the side of Kuma, since they are known to over-rotate. But little do they know that Degree said, I know that they know that we over-rotate. So what I'm going to do here is hold down this site. B goes out. There's going to be a little bit of a prowler there coming out. Here we go. Sees as well from Ahura. And connects with Raiden now. It's just going to be a 3v5. As man disadvantage is becoming a little bit too hard. The bait for the rotation didn't quite work out.
30 seconds left.
No, not at all. I mean, you lose your rage, you lose the ability to help you know, create more space at your own So now this push is going to become a little bit more linear.
Spike down mid.
They're getting pinched inside of this. They have nowhere to go. They do have the spike, and that's all they're going to get.
10 seconds
round,
left.
as this looks to be. Yeah, it looks confirmed for Akuma. The flash goes out. So he does get one, so there goes an exit frag.
Down mid.
He gets seconds to work red, but finally, Toshi's dead, and that's the operator surrendered, the operator surrendered to Akuma. That, like, tongue twister for a second. Bars.
Yeah, that's exactly how Toshi felt as he was getting gunned down by Demo here. Was like, well, what is going on? But yeah, you said the operator in the hands of Demo. Surprisingly, Demo's going to be keeping it. I would have kind of wanted to see maybe Raze have it. Someone that has a little bit more mobility. But hey, I guess Demo is definitely feeling the energy and wants to get some operator kills here. Camera down mid to gather some information, but that's not where the whole rest of the Nameless gang is at. The gang is over onto this A side.
Makes a lot of sense. They've been trying the B side execute, or they've been trying to put some pressure onto B, and instead they're switching it up. You have 2 players over 5 vents, and we're going to have 8 rotations happening through mid. And the rest of the Nameless esports players are by a mainly pressure, maybe get some control over 5 vents. Out screens, but this is out the bottom of the vent itself. So now the Grease gets a 2K from here. Kate Shell kill as well, gets a 3rd. Raiden just doesn't turn around.
No.
And now we're in a 3v1 for Nexus, and he has to clutch it out for his team. 55 seconds left to go. He does find 1, but he has to find 2 more.
Good thing is that the showstopper is in the back pocket, and so is the rotation coming out. I love the fact that he's thinking about, maybe I should rotate here. Does turn around as if to rotate. There's 8 bullets in the chamber. Reload comes on through. All that Akuma needs to do is make
30
sure
seconds
they
left.
swing off of each other. There is some smokes and a blind in the back pocket of Front X. As soon as that plant comes on through, I believe they're going to be taken out here and push. Oh, Linux says, I know I need a plant, but I also want to clear everything. There's footsteps. Franix, first the footsteps
10
here.
seconds left.
The blind comes through. It's going to be
Spike
a push.
planted.
A new weapon was picked up by the Cypher, and the push from Franix not even giving a chance to Linux.
Ooh, that was that was good timing on the paranoia. You know what? I have a story with my paranoias. I flashed all of my teammates. That's it.
I'm scared.
I've done it. Yeah.
Oh no.
I did that in the custom match that you hosted. I flashed every one of my teammates. They were like, "You flashed us!" And I was like, "Yeah, I know." I didn't know I flashed them, but now I
That's the
did.
point. No, I
That's
feel
the
like you know you flashed them, but you blind them so you could go get the kills. New KDA strategy here, folks. Blind your teammates so that you can get the kills. And then you'd be like, oops, I didn't mean to flash you.
I mean, okay. I mean, you know, going back to that round though, for Nameless Esports, they tried a new push. They had 2 players, you know, camping over by mid, not really fully investing their time or their movements in it like they usually would. They had a full push up into A main, but the one thing that they didn't really do was, you know, smoke the bottom of the ramp.
You want to play? Let's play.
Safely, and you saw Degrees get like
No
2
charges
kills because of that.
Gets invested. Prowler as well, not quite connecting.
Where
Now
are
it's
you?
going to be the Haunt coming out on the side of Nameless. Does pick off Ahira here, but Ahira manages to back out. There's going to be a fault line also invested. And so much utility coming out. As you can see, though, Akuma has not rotated off the base. They still have their 2 players there. Just waiting for the rotation as the rest of Nameless is fighting
Spike
for
down
this
mid.
movement. And they're losing. Wumby, they're losing to just 1 player. Ahira has been holding on to that B Heaven so perfectly with just simple util. And 2 players, 4 Nameless, do go down.
Where did Degrees move from? He got like a 2K, one from Garage and then one from Mel's. I don't know how he moved from there to back. I believe he was just probably in the back of B and they peeked him. That's insane. Crazy from Degrees so far. Crazy from
Spike
Akuma
down A.
as they take this round by the neck and they're starting to string Akuma, not Akuma, sorry, Nameless at the
30
moment.
seconds
That
left.
camera
One
from Demo
enemy
grabbing
remaining.
That intel on the Raiden is the last player.
Oh, Raiden's
He's
getting
just-
tossed with everything.
This is so toxic. You know what? Valorant is such a cancerous game for this very reason. You get flashed by almost everything. You don't know what's going on. And see,
And
he doesn't
died.
even know what's going on. Look at that. He just got pink
Dice
showed.
some nades. He
Man.
said, yeah, we're out of this map.
You know what? Have you seen that? I can't remember who the post was, but it was on Twitter, and this dude was getting. It was on Haven, and he was getting flashed. He was getting like haunted. He was getting paranoid. He was getting everything. He was like, I don't know what's going on. He was panicking. I imagine that was Raiden in that moment.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there's nothing you can do at that point, but it's beautifully done by Akuma. Did not give up B Heaven. Somehow, some way, it was Ahira who was able to just hold on to that B Heaven by themselves and able to secure that choking point for the rest of Akuma to really play on through. Demo says, yo, Toshi, you know you had an operator once upon a time? Now I have it. Check it out. It's nice and clean. First pick goes off to it. Hyper, double satchel. Not really working for Linux here as Prowler goes up to B Heaven, trying to get rid of Shatter, but Shatter is getting rid of folks here on the
One
map.
enemy
This
remaining.
A push is just deadly.
Spike down
Nameless.
Oh, so many things went wrong. You have your... Oh my god. Just so many things went wrong for that A side push, right? So starting off from A man, you have Toshi, you know, challenging on to that position of Demo, and then after he gets killed from Demo, the smoke comes, and there was a double satchel incident with Lenny as
Linux.
well,
Yeah.
Linux as well, and it just crumbled down to messy gunfights, which Akuma came out on top of.
And now they're facing at potentially being a 7-3, following up this what is this, 8th map, ninth run here. Math is harder, right, folks? Don't catch me on that. I haven't had my coffee. I haven't had coffee quite yet. I was about to chug down a coffee. Double catch from Linux caught me off guard, and so did a catch Demo as well. Said, hey, delivery to your door.
You delivered some bullets, not a box of pizza. That's very disappointing. I don't like bullets with my pizza. I don't even like pineapple with my pizza. Spike has been planted though, so this is gonna force the retake from Akuma. And oh, I don't.
I don't want pizza all day or day. Just like that, the retake does have to
One
happen.
enemy
But now
remaining.
Raiden says, no retake for you. Go home. And now it's just down to one lonesome make that none as All-Star beats the last kill.
Jesus Christ. I mean, good entry though from Linux, right? Just double satchel. I mean, we saw how the double satchel worked in the round before that. But in that round, it works off pretty well. Catches Demo off guard. He's able to create that space into A, and there's nobody from Akuma on the A site. And you know how hard the retakes are on Split itself because of the amount of choke points, how easy it can be to cut off the rotations from the defenders, because there's only really, I want to say, 3 angles that you need to watch on those post plants. And I mean, just not, grass isn't always greener on the other side for Akuma. But they do take this time out in order to talk about things so far. They haven't had a bad defensive half. There has been some pretty awkward moments, especially when you think about the way their communication has been going, especially when it comes to how good their site presence is, how fast their rotations are, how slow they've been at times, and how lackluster they have been when it comes to mid control. Albeit mid has been a lot better for them to hold on to. It seems like Nameless in the last few rounds haven't been able to get mid as easily as they were in the first 2. But, Akuma want to talk about it despite how good of a lead they have at the moment. They can't be satisfied with just a 6-3 lead on defense of Split. They want more.
Yeah, especially since having an 8-0 record, right? That means you haven't lost a series whatsoever. Potentially there has been maybe a map or 2 that they've lost, but they never perfectly lost a series. And they're not looking to do so right now. I want to give kudos to Nameless, though the fact that they decided to change that tempo the last round was what allowed them to make this just a 3-round difference, as opposed to making them a 4-round difference. Now they're slowing it down, though, and this is where it becomes a little bit too rough for me, because Akuma is so good at retaking together, right? And just like that, Shattered catches Linux trying to do some cheeky stuff over to that A site, but no one else is home there. As you can see, the rest of Nameless is caught out by Devil's camera, set post for this selfie, as it's going to be staged with the bomb. Being now doing a little bit of cage ninja action here over onto that B side, but the rest of Nameless have been deep into this. I do like this look. This look is going to be insane for Raiden if he managed to get a couple picks, giving a little bit of
one enemy remaining.
Nameless, but it's going to be that showstopper coming in onto that side now. Once upon a time, it's going to be Raiden's to game, but now it does turn into Akuma's round.
Yeah, I mean, Raiden could have had a good lurch from there, but it looks like Shattered was like really on top of that. He stayed back in Vince. He was just like, hey, I think somebody is flanking us, so let me watch it from Vince. And there was also another guy down in mailbox, but I mean, that's not the only reason why they won that round. Shattered's positioning and game sense there, just hang back in Vince in order to watch out for that lurk, was really good. But again, they, like you said, they retook that as a team, and they did it just then. The show stopped on top of everything else. The shots, everything was great for Akuma. And Nameless, they didn't really have any extra back for them in that round.
No extra back, but a lot of pressure to try to make this a 7-4 after this round. They invested so heavily into this. Toshi gets aggressive, and this is exactly what you want Nameless to do. You want to get into the faces of Akuma, because that is where Akuma seems to have a lot of hard time with now, though, making this a 3v4 advantage. And it's still on the hands. Scratch that. It's going to be an even 3-3. I was going to say Nameless looking nice and clean. The C's does pull on one, and the swing on through, but hey, it's going to be Akuma trading off for their friends. That Neural that comes out. Resurrection as well. It's going to be pinched through for both of the remaining teammates of Akuma. They're going to push onto this A side. They know that there's going to be Phoenix gets rid of All-Star, but still a 2v2. Make that a 2v1 as Phoenix does go down. From the shadows comes on through. Gonna pass for plant for a heaven. And this is gonna be perfect, because you see this kind of pinching action that's gonna happen from Toshi and Raiden. Actually, Raiden gets really aggressive. Oh my goodness! That I don't know what was up with that smoke there. Raiden should have been able to
round
see
before the switch.
that Cypher was there, and Cypher should have been able to see that Raiden was there, but somehow we did not see anything.
I was so composed. They were right next to each other. I was gonna talk about like a couple of things in that round, but it was all kind of null and void, especially after like Nameless just won it. But I guess I'll talk about it anyways. The first kill that came from Nameless, you saw them slow down a little bit in mid, and that almost caught them a bit off guard, because Akuma were able to capitalize off of the timidness from Nameless, despite them getting that very first pick through mid, and also getting 2 players inside of Heaven. They didn't go for a B site execute, instead they switched it up because Raiden had that from the shadows onto the A site. So good thinking there from Raiden, but that was a very curious situation on the top of A Heaven. That was very weird. Strange.
Yeah, now we go back to kind of what Nameless likes to do, which is this defaulting. Defaulting has not worked out for them, 1B. They always either get caught out by 1 or 2. This time around, Lennox can go for this Heaven. Double satchels does get blinded, but it's going to be Lennox who actually comes out on top. Shattered got a little bit too hasty there with that flash, and I think also got blinded by their teammate as well. Degrees though says, I gotta trade this off, and does indeed. Now it's gonna be an even 4-4. The bomb is fully onto this B site and is going to get planted. I love this aggression coming out from the chamber here. But unfortunately, Ahira gets rid of 2. And now, with that 3v2, Nightmare comes out. It's only 1. Ice Melly does manage to stay alive. And also, the Nightmare gets invested in return.
One enemy remaining.
Ice Melly putting in work onto that defense. And now Raiden is like, I'm here to help a friend. Myra goes on through. It's going to be Degrees missing a couple of shots. And Raiden connecting those.
Switching sides.
Positioning and getting back out was really, really good, but the flank from Raiden was, you know, the icing on the top. Had Smelly died there, Raiden would have gotten that refrag. So again, we see Raiden just doing some work on this lurker role of Omen. He did it in the previous round before that, where he used that from the shadows in order to get the plant off into A. And he did it just then when he was rotating through mid, and he got a kill. He also got the second kill as well to deny the defuse. So really good stuff that we're seeing from Raiden, or that we saw from Raiden on the attack. How will Nameless fare though on defense? Because I mean, well, how will Akuma fare on defense, seeing as they have the Cypher?
Cypher's been allowed to really protect their bottom from flanks, for sure. But when you have Decrease popping off onto the side, Toshi though in return gets 2, now putting them at a 3v3. But look at the health of Franks here, very, very low. In an uncomfortable situation, they're gonna re-hit this A site. I'm really nervous about this 1B, because not only did you just create a massacre over onto the A site, which means there's still gonna be folks lurking about. And yes, indeed, All-Star there. And just like that, Raiden connecting with a 2, and All-Star helping a friend as well. Now we take it down to just a 1-point difference here.
Close. I mean, that's to be expected, especially because of the switch on the defense for Nameless. So now they can start to close the gap just a little bit. And I mean, they're closing it. It's like, I don't know how to describe how close this is. You know, they're closing the gap. It's 1 round away. They're not just letting Akuma take the map, if that makes sense. Despite how dominant Akuma had been in the regular season, this is just, again, this is very impressive. I said this in the pre-show. I felt like Nameless could give them a run for their money, and
indeed, it has to be the sub-in from, I believe it was Demo subbed in? No. Who was the sub for, oh, Raiden. Raiden was actually the sub for, Nameless here, and so is Renx, also a sub for Akuma as well. So 2 teams that have 2 subs, and right now the upper man advantage is for the side of the defenders here, as they're looking to tie this game up once again. The bomb though is already planted over onto the same site. The rest of the defenders, they were kind of a little lost there, right? They were like, I think they're gonna rotate, but they didn't. So that was a little bit of overthinker there, as a blind is going to come through from FrankX as soon as some connection from the Fade happens here. They hear footsteps. They're making their way over onto this A Heaven, but they're getting double pinched, right? It's gonna be Linux. Linux gets blinded. It's gonna be the swing on through. Ahira does get 1, but FrankX gets lost in that battle. 2 of the remaining Ice Melly and Sage making their way onto the site. They're gonna connect with 1. There is 1 backside. Demo trying to keep this round alive. Scratch, that's gonna be a fade versus fade. Once again, the bomb is sticking past to get it, but no, Ahira does make his will. He manages to get the kill to make sure that the lead is still in the hands of the team.
I quenched just a little bit because that's how close they are.
Yeah. It was close. It was milliseconds. Actually, I don't know. Producer, how many seconds were left on that one?
There.
My producer said very, very close. We confirm. Super close as can be. Now following up, still lead, like I stated, over onto who has surpassed your expectations here, Wumby? Who did you think was gonna either make or break this game for Nameless?
I said Toshi, but putting a good shout for himself. So is Ahira, who's he doesn't have like the best stat line. I mean, 11 and 8 is pretty damn good, but he has been doing a lot of work on that fade. It may not really show on the kill feed despite him being 11 and 8, but I feel like he's been using his utility well. Another player that's been really impressing me is also Raiden, again because of his movements and his ability to lurk. He showed his potential on the attacking rounds, and he showed how crucial he was for ensuring that this game would be as close as it was with Nameless. And I mean, as close as it was with Akuma. But that's not to say that nobody on Nameless is not pulling in their weight. I feel like, Toshi isn't having the best of games, and this is that was an entry player that we were focusing on. But it's not like he can't pick it up for the rest of the map.
Yeah, that's very true, but it is causing a little bit of tension, right, for the side of Nameless. When one of your top fraggers isn't quite at its peak performance, it does create that little bit of distrust in your
30
teammate.
seconds
Like,
left.
we know that. So it's gonna take a lot for the rest of Nameless to really pick it up. I'm looking at Linux and Raiden, who are at the moment picking up that slack. Unfortunately, though, it was Toshi who came out the first blood here for this following round. The bomb has been planted, and they are on a weapon disadvantage, so I'm expected for this round to go in the hands of Akuma and give them that 3-point lead, which eventually kind of boosts them into getting that nightmare as well, and from the shadows. This one come through. The best thing for Nameless is
One
to get
enemy
the
remaining.
weapons off of the hands of Akuma at this point.
I don't even think he's gonna get near this side of Akuma, because once they step foot into these lines of sight, a blender of crossfires. You see that player Ice Belly just sitting down and can't do anything. He tries to move to his right and he tries to exit out of screens. He's gonna get caught off from heaven. He tries to move in through the screen's doorway itself. He gets caught off by a player on the top of heaven and in the middle of A and an elbow, and it's just no.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough, but it's getting. I do see the glimpses of highlight for Nameless here, especially when Raiden and Linux could pop off. Now, what's happening here, though, is Toshi is getting picked off fairly quickly, and I'm also very surprised at the way that the Sage is getting played here, right? Usually, we see that Sage being used to block off this mid control. We do see a slow orb being pushed out there so that nobody fully pushes out, and somehow, some way, it is going to be that first blood on that A side for Nameless. Actually, no, for Akuma. As they get rid of the Cypher, unfortunately, not going to be able to use those tripwires to know exactly when that rotation is going to happen. So they're going to have to keep a man over onto this A site to make sure that Nameless doesn't rotate over.
Yeah, I want to add on to what you said about the stage. That wall isn't usually on the top of heaven, on the top of Bell itself. Usually is on the lower half of mid, just to stall out a little bit more time. The slow orb was there as well to ensure that Akuma wouldn't attack into mid and take immediate control of it, but the slow orb doesn't last for that long, and you saw how quickly it dissipated. But also look at how Nameless are just back off control. Raiden does find himself, but he can't find himself.
30 seconds left. Last player standing.
But oh wow,
Spike down,
we see
B.
ourselves in a 1v3. In the advantage of Nameless. Last player alive is a hero of him, but he gets spotted out by the bot. Exactly where he is. One headshot. But and find a second kill on the board, and it is Nameless to close that one out.
And they needed that one. Economy-wise, they needed it, right? You were going to go into this downhill, giving that potential double digits to Akuma, and it puts you in a very tough situation, especially knowing that this is your map pick. You know, you want to win your map pick. This is, we said it, this is a defender side to have, so if I mean, the round lead was on the hands of Akuma, but it looks like
Let's
it's
make
going
'em
to be
dance.
Nameless, the ones making their comeback. I might call it too soon here, 1B, don't get too excited, but I do see the glimpse of a comeback happening.
Well, let's see. I don't know if Akuma will let a comeback happen. That's probably a lot of strong words, but Toshi by screen is going to be holding off this A main position. The smokes are in his way. Doesn't have that intel wind of fire.
Face your fear!
Shot him over the smoke, but again, just didn't have the intel. I smell is going to be on the top of A.
The Fade Nightmare baited
know
out
exactly
the rotation.
where
Oh, but it's going to be that connect that brings back Raze over onto this A side. It's a kill for a kill as Ahira is moving their way over onto B Heaven from the shadows. From Frank. Over onto this A side. The bomb gets planted. It's going to be the lurk from the Fade over onto these vents. There is going to be a trademark there to give away that location, though, so unfortunately, it's going to be a battle there over onto that A Heaven.
That was beautiful from Akuma. Saw the beautiful. And ooh, nice positioning there from Shattered, who that's another player that I wanted to compliment too. His positioning has been on point for Akuma, and I think I haven't sung his praises enough. Demo has also been another player. I mean, hell, everybody on the team is doing a damn good job of just doing their part in this game. Now, also putting off these screen players were just a little bit, you know, scabbing. They had this advantage.
Last player standing.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Caster curse that? I don't know. But that was a good try. Very, very good try. Unfortunately, though, Toshi just wanted... if Toshi had just stayed over onto the A Heaven and got that alert from the Fade that, hey, they're lurking about, they might flank you here at this point, I think that could have been a very different situation. But unfortunately, Toshi getting a little bit too aggressive and getting picked off by Shattered was what shifted the momentum specifically for Akuma there. And now they're looking to make this their 11th round as Nameless is down to just pistols, a shorty, and a Bucky.
You think maybe the way Toshi played that was probably down to frustration and just how much he's died and how much open depth he's collected in the past few rounds, because that could be a cause for concern if it continues to happen throughout the whole Toshi, but Demo does, and that is
Cage trigger.
control in favor of Akuma. So far, so good. It looks like they're also getting up Garage in order to just fully
Cage
focus
trigger.
on mid control itself. Whether they want to go for an A side rotation, since the omen of Frank's is there waiting for it, they might be rotating the A, and that looks to be the plan for them.
I absolutely love Ahira. Just constantly being a little troll for Nameless. Like, hey, I might be here or I may not. Like, here's a little sound. You could rotate if you think that there's someone here. Constantly using a seize, maybe a con. Last time the Nightmare came out. Degrees, though. I'm gonna hold that
30
thought, 'cause
seconds
yes,
left.
I want to give
Spike
praises to
planted.
Ahira. But that
Player standing.
make that a
Flawless.
3-piece. And the last kill. Oh, making this 11 a flawless for us here, 1B.
That's off of a janky buy for Nails, so that round would have gone in Akuma's way. I mean, usually, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes those rounds go in the way of the team with the weaker weapons, and most of the time it doesn't. In that sense, it went in favor of Akuma, but that's not to say that they aren't playing amazing. That round was really well executed for them, and you have to think right now they have the momentum to keep this going. And Nameless, well, you're just away, but on target.
Oh, I smelly does indeed smell the whole Akuma gang getting onto this site here, and they're pushing on through, but somehow still finds one, looking for the second. Oh no, abilities are out.
Spike
Now
down
it's
A.
down
Last
to
player
just
standing.
one. Oh, I thought that was definitely going to be the round of Akuma, but somehow, some way, they managed to collapse onto the site. Frank, last person for Akuma, does get one. Second on directed, but no, the line. The shots just don't connect across their place and wasn't there, and just like that, still holding on to hope here is Nameless.
That was beautiful from Raiden. Like, I know there was a lot of chaos in that round, but what I mainly saw was his positioning and elbow. you saw Smiley go down. He did get the opening pick, yes, but after he went down, Raiden was there for the immediate trade. He was there to shut down the remaining players for Akuma, as well as they just bombarded onto the A site. And I don't know if it was just for a lack of YouTube, for a lack of care, for
Time to
maybe
work.
just complacency because they're in such a good lead, momentum is high, that they just forgot to clear out the A site fully. But Raiden was able to capitalize, and he got a 3K in that round based off of that as well.
The fact that
Here.
Akuma is hitting A site once again just speaks confidence. It's like, oh yeah, we lost one round before. Don't worry though, we're gonna get this one as Toshi once again being the first blood, though this time around does get rid of Victoris. The Boombot gets tossed out there. Fade Nightmare also comes out, but no, the Showstopper does indeed connect. And it's gonna be All-Star bringing back the All-Star Toshi onto this game as the Fade manages to peek out where Breach's location is, so Breach has to reposition at this point. And they can't go A, they can't go B here, as the A4 is placed there. And that Fade is out.
This is a rough, especially with their economy. If they lose this round, I don't know what their economy is gonna look like next round, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a bit rough for them. In saying that, though, Spike is gonna go rotate over into Garage, but it's not too good, especially with the positionings of the remaining nameless
30
players.
seconds
Some
left.
players are covering Heaven, a player's just watching and waiting for this Garage push, and it's only a matter of time before you hear gunshots.
Last player
Nobody
standing.
being raided, but the next Franks and shattered all, or both of them to All-Star.
Yeah. Alright, 11-9. Just beautifully done by Nameless to not over-rotate, and just like that, we are going to go into a timeout here, 1B, by Akuma once again. And what do you think they're talking about? What would you like for them to switch around this upcoming round?
As for what they could be talking about, I don't know. This is the second timeout that we've seen from Akuma. I'm not too sure if we've seen one from Nameless at all in this matchup. So that speaks to the mental fortitude and the confidence that Nameless have to not take a timeout and to be confident in themselves to say, well, we don't need a timeout in order to stop momentum. What we can fix, we'll just fix in the very next round, because we're that good at adjusting our plays and adjusting our playbook around the other team that we don't need a timeout in order to slow things down. So I feel like for Akuma, what the issue could be maybe is complacency, because they are dying very early on, and that happened in the last 2 rounds. And in the last 2 rounds, we see Nameless Esports able to pick up 2 and cut the gap down to 2 rounds, when Akuma are just 1 round away from match point.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to come down to this round if they want to take us into the match point, at least for Akuma. We are going to see them force buy here, which makes me a little bit nervous, because that means if they do lose this round, they're going to be down to just a simple pistols, which is going to bring Akuma down to the 11-11, actually, to be specific here. So now Frank is going to be the first to be Nameless, aggressing over onto the spawn. As now they back up. They got what they wanted. They got the kills, but the sandwich is coming down from B Heaven. It's going to be the double wumble combo coming out from Dino.
One
And,
enemy
Akira
remaining.
here as they take over this site. And now it's down just left to Toshi, the star player of the game 2 matches ago, or 1 series ago to be specific. Sorry. Now though, not
Spike
game.
planted.
This is going to be the moment to prove himself. Can and does. Clutch
One
Gene.
less.
It's a 1, making this a 1v3 now. There is a teleport. Also, that Headhunter is available in the back pocket.
He's fighting against what seems to be a hopeless situation, but he's gonna try it either way. Jump down and go. 2 players are
Match
together.
point.
They also teabag.
Let's close up shop.
So if he's not tilted now, he should. If he wasn't tilted then, he should be tilted now, because that would actually make me
It was a
upset.
hug, 1B. That was not a
That was
teabag.
not
That was a hug. It was
They were
a, I'm
crouching
sorry,
up
you're
and
having a
down?
heart. It was a pulling front and back hug, all right? It was like a, you're good, everything's gonna be all right type of hug. But we're in the match point, baby. Match point for Akuma. they were struggling, if we're being honest, at the start of this second half. But now they found their way. We have to give a lot of kudos to Degrees and Shattered, who are top fragging here. Also having that Rolling Thunder available here if they just want to hit a site hard. But for the side of Nameless, they're down to the bare minimum here. We do see some Spectres, some Light Shields, no ultimates available for them. They're just going to decide to stack this B Heaven, and they're right. Look where the rest of the gang of Akuma's at.
They did this in the last round, or well, they didn't necessarily do it like this, but they did this in the last round where they were bunched up all in one area, and they got punched because they let one area get so overwhelmed by Akuma. And I mean, this time it's Akuma attacking in the right or in the area where Nameless Esports
Off your feet!
Wait, what? There's
way Rolling Thunder goes in as well, and they've already pulled out Heaven. And B is will basically cleared unless Nameless just find their way in here. They do find the kill back, but 2 goes in favor of the hero.
30 seconds left.
The last player. No, yeah, he's the last player alive for Nameless. What the hell?
Teleport's ready.
yeah, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of utility. They were not even focused on that being hook. And Frank was the super ninja getting onto the site, trading off Ice Melly, who could have been the potential kind of shifting wave for Nameless, but unfortunately that's not the way the ship turns out. It's actually going to be Akuma taking on this first map. Degrees with the 272 combat score and 3 first bloods, along with Shattered as well, being right below. Very dominant by Akuma here.
Yeah, it was a little bit closer than I wouldn't necessarily. It's a little bit closer than a lot of people would have expected it to be. I did say I thought Nameless could be very, very competitive with Akuma here, and I felt like they were for the most part. Those last
absolutely.
2 rounds were a little bit confusing to me, especially when they did the exact same thing they did in the round before the last round. In the very last round that we saw, where they were just bunching up in one area trying to hold Akuma off, and they surrendered another area over to Akuma, and that is exactly how they lost those last 2 rounds, because they let the Akuma player overwhelm them in one area when they weren't even watching in the first place. They were really bunched up, didn't try and separate at all, and keep an eye on they didn't try and keep an eye on the other area on the B site. I don't know how to explain it, but that's the best way I could go about it. A good win though from Akuma. We did have some players stepping up, and also some players stepping up for Nameless that I didn't think would step up.
Yeah, it's always nice, although it is not quite over, folks. There's still the second map. If Nameless manages to get that under their belts, we will be visiting that third map. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break. We shall be right back with some more action. All right, folks, we are back, and it's map number 2. Map number 1 went in favor of Akuma, but now we are in map number 2. What are your expectations here, 1B? What do you want to see? What can Nameless do in order to keep it in the running for this playoff?
Just don't let the first map shake them. I do want to see. I think if Toshi has a better game than he did in the last map, that map could have ended in a much different way. I'm not saying Nameless could have won that, but I'm saying that we might have seen OT and Nameless could have had a better shot, because by the end of it, you saw Akuma really dominate in the first bloods and just started to roll over and bully Nameless a lot in the later stages of Split.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see a little bit of a. We need to see Toshi wake up. So this is your wake up call, Toshi. It's time to go, along with Linux and Raiden, who were the top all stars for at least Split. Now we're going into Ascent, a map that is as old as time itself, aka Valorant. And every team has a composition on here, but with the new shift of meta, there has been that introduction to Fade. So how do you feel about it? Do you think they're going to bring out a Fade? What team do you think is going to bring out a Fade, if any of them? Or what team composition agents would you like to see on this map?
I think Akuma is gonna stick with the Fade. If I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Sova. Sova's really decent on this map, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them also go into Fade. So Akuma, I think, will stick to the Fade. As for Nameless, I'm not too sure if they're gonna go with the Fade, if they're gonna go with the Sova. They seem like a team that likes to flip flop between Fade and Sova. But when it comes to like other picks, because I know we talk a lot about the Fade, my big thing about Ascent is more or less in the Sentinel picks, whether or not we'll see a Chambers, whether or not we'll see a KJ, whether or not we'll see a Sage. I've seen some teams experiment with all.
Oh, I think you accidentally muted there, 1B.
Hello?
Are you good? Okay, there you are. There you are.
Yeah. I think my internet just decided to screw me up. But like I said, I've seen a flip. I've seen a switch up between Chambers, KJ, and Sage, all due to the changes to Chambers trademarks. Him being only cut down to just having, what is it, 2 of them now, and so now you see a lot more switch up between the Sentinel picks, especially on a map like Ascent, where it's very, very dependent on your ability to control mid. And since Chambers, he only has one. Since Chambers only has one trademark, he has to use that trademark elsewhere, and then you have to have somebody physically hold on to mid, which can be troublesome to teams. And so that's why you see a KJ pick coming out from demo, because you could use a lot of her utility on either one of these sites and still use her utility to be able to control mid as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mid control, just like Split, for Ascent is super important. Who's gonna get? That's the one question, and I can't remember. I believe it was Nameless who likes to fidget around mid quite a lot. So it's gonna be the job of Akuma to make sure that they don't get that mid control. Otherwise, it could become a little bit of a problem there for the side of Akuma. Although Akuma, as we can see their team composition, they're going to go for that wombo combo fast dash onto the site with the Jet. And who better than Degrees? Last time that we saw Degrees on the Jet, specifically on Ascent, I'm going to say it lightly.
Choose your agent.
Popped off as in Fight First Bloods, constantly creating that space for his team. And now that we have Franks onto the mix, Franks has just been phenomenal at a controller. I believe last map he also played this Omen, and he was able to really create that space. And Lurk, I love lurking Omens. I know sometimes they're like, oh, lurking Omen, bleh. You know what? Lurking Omen gets the kills, my dudes, all right? And we saw Franks really help out his team, especially on that last round, get those final kills and create that momentum. Which, by the way, did you know you can get the Omen banner on a poster? Like a big old poster, and they frame it and they send it to your house? I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, you go on the Valorant webpage, and then you can order it, and then they send it to you. It's super cool, like super cool. Anyways, my producer's currently going and purchasing that right now, folks, just so you know. And if you didn't, well, you heard it from Cute Noob. I wish they had a discount code, and I could be like, yeah, use code Cute Noob. No offense, Wumby. But anyways, moving on here. Team composition. Starting off on the defense is going to be Nameless, before we saw them start off on the attack, which was on split, it worked out, right? Their defense seems to be a little bit more geared towards holding pushes, especially with the KJ, especially with the KO, especially with the paint shells from the Rays. So I'm gonna expect for Nameless to be really, really reliant on their utility. But what may come from that is going to be if you use your utility a little bit too early, you might get bit in the later on rounds.
I was completely wrong, by the way. Akuma's not gonna stick with the Fade as I expected. Instead, they betrayed me and they go onto the Russian operator himself. You know, the Russian beast, the Russian master, and the Sofa. And I mean, he's a pretty popular pick on this map as well as Fade is. But what's very interesting about Nameless Esports composition is the fact they don't really have a lot of intel gathering initiators, apart from the fact that you do have KO who can gather intel with 0.9 PFP. And this guy with her dogs and
Oh
Green
man!
himself. I mean, he just rushed right in there and took control of the market. There goes Smelly to fall, and that frees up the B site for Akuma at the start of the game.
And I said it, 1B.
Spike planted.
Just going for that wombo combo fast dash onto the site, especially with Victoris, who does know exactly how to create that space. Now down to just 2 defenders. Both intel, both initiators here. They could gather some
Last
information.
player
KO,
standing.
23 seconds on that flash point. Raiden goes down, makes his shots crispy clean. Those I want to point out, and it's trading off onto this initiator from a duelist. Could be a little bit of a change of momentum. Just go down. The first round going over to Akuma.
Yes, like I said, the Green is dog. He just dashed right into market. Got killed the first player who was hiding behind that table. It seemed like that player was like very, very afraid. he just hid, and then he just died. And then just early aggression, very early on, very well executed by them as well. But instead of going onto the B site this round, it seems like their focus is going to be on A. Somehow hard they push onto the B site. It may be the same thing here, but both 0 points are expended and used, and that should hold off the early aggression from this attack from the but also the early aggression from the defense from Nameless.
I have a lot of feelings about that flash, especially from Shattered and Degrees. It seemed like there was no communication, but utility sending over onto say main. They have the weapon disadvantage. Raiden does not care, though that right click does connect. Now the man advantage is on the side of defenders. They are going to be able to crawl up and gather those weapons. The deep push is going to happen from a KJ's All-Star trying to hold on, but no gets repositioned by that smoke. The site is going to be given away the position of them from that turret, and now the defense is going to happen. Franks pushing onto site, gonna check back door, but nobody's gonna be home. They could freely plant this bomb. I don't know how much utility is actually on the backhand.
One enemy remaining.
Nameless Demo just 4K easy peasy, looking for that ace early, potentially.
My mouth is agape. I don't know what happened there, but they just all pushed from the same angle. Nobody there for the quick trade. That was probably the easiest 3K that you'll see in this matchup, especially from Demo who has it. He's now 5-0. Oh! He just shot it. And
no ace. No ace. Unfortunate. But to answer your question there, 1B, that was plainly weapon difference right there.
Right.
Put it easily.
He just pressed blood click with the Spectre, and they were all helplessly staring at him with their inferior Ghost and Classics. Classics are free gun, by the way.
Absolutely, but what comes up next is that buy-up round 4. Nameless. They are gonna have maybe 2 with Light Shield, Toshi and Ice Melly. And interestingly enough, Toshi decided to move on to this duelist. Not quite yet on the scoreboard yet, but potentially looking to make this the first round as this mid control gonna play off of that Boombot. And I like how you talked about it at the beginning a little bit, 1B, which is how KJ is able to really hold down two sites, right? If you so commit a site, that movement bot is going to at least give some information that there's someone nearby, and that's where your teammate could really capitalize. It also does a little bit of vulnerability to your opponent, which then you can really take advantage of. The movement bot spots out Decrease though, just trying to bait it out. They're going to rotate over. They're trying to hit this tree side hard, but it's going to be the grenade coming out from the mid that's going to hold them off. Nade for a nade. There's so much utility there. The battle is coming through. So many bodies being thrown out here. But
Spike down
holding on to
A.
a main, throws out the plate. So gonna disposition one, gets another, but unfortunately there is a frame there.
30 seconds left.
Here.
One enemy
Dispositioning,
remaining.
but they haven't checked heaven here, Wumby.
I'm not checked heaven. There goes the hero to be the last player alive. Paranoia goes out. Player actually, like, both. One of them wasn't even looking the right way, and it is Nameless to get that first round. I mean, that was a battle of trees and utility in trees. Just a lot of utilities. You saw fragments, flashes, everything from both teams being suspended. At first, that looked pretty scary for Nameless, especially when they lost control of trees, and then looked like they lost control of sight. But as you said it, they didn't clear out heaven. They didn't pay attention to that repositioning from the player on heaven, which was the killjoy of All-Star. And that's an All-Star player.
Enemy suppressed.
Star play. Looking to make it play off enemy kill. She does get one. Completed right off the bat by Degrees, though now Amira also capitalizes over on Sky here, but it's trade for a trade. Ahira here making a difference for the team. Omen is half across the map, still provides some cover for his team here. The recombo made it somewhere. Not quite where they wanted to, but somewhere already.
Spike planted.
I mean, they made it somewhere, and then you saw All-Star shoot at it and give away position. Everybody from Akuma paid attention. Smail is going to reposition himself over into trees. That's shut on him, just like how the door might be shut on Nameless's esports' chance of winning this round. Oh my god, he just saw the demo and he shoots him. Okay, that scared me, and I panicked for a little bit, and I screamed like a little girl. The Greens though, then hell, will they know about his position? It doesn't seem like they do. He could be
One enemy
the wild
remaining.
card here, but it is actually a hero with the 2K through the smoke. A 4K on the round for the Sova, and a third round on the board for Akuma.
1B, I have a question. Why did they shoot at the KJ mollies when KJ was dead? Huh? You know what? No, we shouldn't laugh at it because that's a good Valorant player. You should get rid of KJ Molly. But maybe not when a KJ is dead. Just a thought. And that kind of dispositions the crosshair, right? That's why it was so important. Like, why shoot a KJ Molly when it's dead? It dispositions your crosshair placement, and just like that, a hero was able to capitalize on you. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So just like that, little mistakes happening for Nameless here that costed them that round. All-Star relying on a Marshall. Knows that there is at least one person over on Catwalk with that recombo being shot out. It's going to be the aggression early from Nameless here over onto the backside. Toshi has not found the most success this round. Is on top with a 3-4. All-Star good for one. Decree still gets rid of Raiden.
That was a very curious swing from All-Star, and he's able to capitalize off of it. Nobody from Akuma watching him, and nobody from Akuma watching him. That turret is there to spot out that flank just in case it comes through, but it doesn't even spot him, and he's able to get two of them.
One enemy remaining.
Third. And that's Toshi. He looked to watch the split, but now he's turned up on a sit. He's going to be shut down, though, from demo. But a 1v3, 40 health in a dream. And I don't know, that was so good from Toshi.
That has to be the highlight.
30 seconds
now,
left.
Though Demo has a lot to live
Placing
up to.
swarm grenade.
Throws a molly
Swarm
to
grenade
disposition
out.
anyone that may be on tree. But look at that. It's going to be Akuma already looking towards the future, rotating over to that B side. You're going to get the KJ holding
spike.
on. Now you have Linux, who's just a tad health. 12 seconds on the board. If anything's
10
going to happen,
seconds left.
it has to happen now as Demo makes his way downtown. But Linux says that may be 10 health, but my shot is still there.
Akuma just got caught out by simple things, right? Like the flanks, the swings, The turret was most definitely misplaced to not be able to catch that flank on time from Toshi, and nobody reacted on time to flick on Toshi. Also, the first kill that happened into this round was due to a player swinging in from trees and nobody covering that swing, despite all 4 of those players pushing towards that same area. It was a bit odd from Akuma. Just
Get out of my way!
A lot of mistakes around and what is he doing? What is going on?
Degrees is doing Degrees things, you know, just making his way downtown, driving fast with some nades. I mean, with some knives
Spike
all
planted.
around. I'll start trying to get that
player
or a team good
standing.
for luck to be 2, but no, actually falls down to Frank here. And now it's gonna be just one of those. Eye smelly. Able to connect once, 46 health. Enough bullets, but spams it out. Gonna reload here. Not really finding any in as Kuma just hoping that he peeks out.
Just a complete shutdown from Akuma. 2 entry picks from Degree through the Blade Storm as well. He gets 3. Actually, sorry, not 2, but 3 kills from Akuma. The Blade Storm. And so nasty from him.
Absolutely. Also, we have to talk about the early Huntress Fury that happened there as well, won't we?
The force that disposition from the CP stairs. Amazing from Akuma. And a timeout from Nameless Esports. They don't know what hit them, but we do. Because we just saw everything that happened.
It was the blades, it was the Hunter's Fury, it was some shots, some teamwork as well. And this kind of showcases why Akuma is so great, right? Especially with that 8-0 lead. They just seem to be able to really shift the pace and capitalize on those entries. If we look at the leaderboard, you have Ahira, you have Degrees, you have Demo. I'm surprised that Shattered isn't up there, but he's doing a phenomenal job with those flashes, those grenades to disposition, and also the flashpoint to gather that information.
Wonder what Nameless. Oh, I would say I wonder what Nameless is talking about. You know, they look so good in the I wouldn't even say they're not even necessarily doing bad. I feel like they are doing a decent job going up against the Akuma, and again, I hope they're not too hard on themselves because Split wasn't that bad. It wasn't as dominating. It was still it still looked to be a comfortable win for Akuma at the end of it, but it seemed very, very close, especially when it was like when it switched on to the half and we saw Akuma 1 round away from tying it up, and then not Akuma, sorry, Nameless was 1 way around from tying it up, and Ascent is looking no different. Both of these teams are really evenly matched.
Okay, so Nameless is going to change the pace here. Toshi going to try once again with that showstopper. Unfortunately, no one's going to be home, and it is going to be a wasted ultimate. That is going to be the down 4. Akuma push onto this B site. All-Star spray through the smoke, please, and there it is. Now gets one, looking for the second, and yes, he connects, but goes down to Shatter. Man advantage is in the hands of Nameless, and Lennox does make sure that it stays that way. Now it's down to Frank. Does not have the bomb, has to push onto the site. And Lennox drops the connect, and just like that, we're bringing it back.
But initially it looked like a complete misread from Nameless Esports turns out to be a really good turnaround for them. We saw the wasted ultimate from Toshi, and we saw most of the players from Nameless Esports go through mid, but the main push from Akuma was happening through A itself, and I guess that decision was made due to the gun disadvantage that Nameless Esports had. Maybe
I'll find
we can just eliminate the players on the A site with the better weapons, and then we can just
Revealing
post
area
plant and watch for retake from Akuma. But now look at this, they're on the GP side, and that was a round that convincingly ended in Nameless Esports' favor.
Oh, the blind goes on through the nade. The alarm bot does tell All-Star that there is someone nearby, and that's going to be a free weapon for Degrees, who tosses it over to a friend. Says, here, you have more health. It's going to be Toshi. It's going to be Degrees getting rid of the player on Heaven. Actually, that was Demo getting rid of the player on Heaven, and this is going to be a fast push. They wanted to do this. So Akuma had the weapon disadvantage, and But now they have a few weapons under the
You
belt.
should run.
Lockdown coming down. Gonna have to figure this out. No command comes out. The push from both the Akuma players. One hiding in the smoke. Linux doesn't check the
One
smoke.
enemy remaining.
Smoke Raiden does find his pick though. The 1v1 and ranks fuse in the hand of Raiden. He's on.
One enemy remaining.
And Link dies. There goes the flash in order to give away the position of this guy. But the fuse has already been done. Raiden, the freaks. What are you hearing? What are you doing? 4-4 is his scoreline. That
He
was
used the guiding light to cut off the sound of him holding the bomb. So he blinded, which then caused that little alert, like the that might be the worst sound of the alert, but basically blinded, caused the pop, held the bomb. That way, Frank didn't realize that he was holding the defuse, and that is why Raiden is the sub. I don't know if you can call him a sub. We should just put him on the main roster because that was phenomenal.
He was doing stuff like that on Split as well. Not really with the util. There were a couple of good flashes from him as the Omen, but his movement was spectacular. That was no different. That was a combination of movement and just smart util usage. Like you said, using that guiding light in order to cut off the sound in his movement in order to get on his side. Pros don't fake and Smelly doesn't miss. That's the first kill going into Nameless Esports' favor. The first one to fall is going to be your Omen, your main smoker, your main playmaker. Off for the board.
Now, I am a little bit disappointed at Akuma here. They had that tree control, and for whatever reason, they decided to give it up here. Blind goes through. The flashpoint also gives the position of the KO for Victoris knows and smells blood, and indeed gets one. Smelly goes down, so that's a smoker for a smoker, if you may say here. As Ahira over onto the safe side, takes full control of three, waiting for some type of sound. The flash does give away the position of Push, and the deep lurk down
30
mid now
seconds
happening. Ahira here's the rotation happening. Here's one, but I don't know if he knows about the second. Linux gets caught out with utility out. Now Ahira has to worry about his own back as the rotation coming back to this B side is happening. Gets
Last player
flashed and the double
standing.
swing coming out for Akuma. Now the B side
10
is
seconds
free,
left.
and it's just one person standing for Nameless.
Spike planted.
All-Star used his lockdown as well because they were expecting an A push after they heard most of the players, or what would have or what could have been most of the players from Akuma pushing into A trees itself, that lockdown being used. B-side All-Star cut down at the end of that round. The fifth round over the board, on the board for Akuma. I wouldn't even necessarily call that a smart play with them. It just happened by chance that, well, I'm pretty sure they knew that All-Star had that lockdown. Maybe they did bait out the trees push in order to bait out that lockdown, fool Nameless into thinking they were going for that A site, but they weren't. They went for B, and that's where, well, a minority of the bodies for Nameless Esports existed.
Yeah, mind games all around 1B. They're baiting and switching left and right here. Flashpoint gonna go over onto this tree side. Does not ping anyone. I like how KJ has set up over onto the site. If they decide for this full push, it's gonna be KJ All-Star just holding off of the site and being able to really pop off that lockdown.
There.
Oh, actually, the lockdown's not even available anymore. Now they're gonna have to rely from the Seekers to come out from their sky. But one gets taken down over onto mid. That causes a rotation from KJ over onto this mid site.
Cover going out.
Hi, Smelly. He knows that they like this tree. Akuma loves tree. I don't know if you've noticed, but every time they've hit this A site or every time they're trying to bait something out, they aggress onto this tree to cause the rotation.
Yeah,
Here.
but that is very true. I didn't know that until you said it. Actually, I did.
Oh, Smelly! Oh, I don't know how Smelly did not
Right
connect
here.
with that. Had the turret to back them up, and unfortunately couldn't get that crosshair placement. Raiden and Linux here over onto this back of
30
Boathouse
seconds
gets
left.
flashed. They're gonna have to fight 2v5 here as the whole gang comes out. A flash comes through this position, but never gets one.
player standing.
And Degrees gets the second now. Degrees All-Star once again trying to keep them alive and bring this to an even
Spike
match.
planted.
And now has to worry with Mr. Marshall in hand. Cannot miss any shots.
You gotta give Akuma where credit is due. Like, they're not a team that's all aim and no brain. They're a team that, I mean, they have good aim, right? Most of their players are mechanically gifted, but they're using their utility well around each other. The way they use their the fragment nades or the mollies or the paint shells, whatever, or they don't even have. Sorry, the mollies
Right
and
here.
also the fragment grenades, and even the shock dart utility from their KJ, their KO, and the Sova.
Standing ahead.
Players and out their fraggers in order to get these entry picks that
Get out of my
was
way!
absolutely amazing, and they did it on the B side to pull out the back of those two players that were existing there in Boathouse. Got his position. That was fragment, but what the hell was that? The Grease is the first pick I really not even looking the right way of 4v4.
1v.
If they can get shattered up.
1v, look where the bomb is. The bomb's not even there. They just baited out that B site. The bomb's actually over onto that A site. It has already been planted. But sadly, it was going to be a from the shadows from Frank. Unfortunately, couldn't go into fruition since they did shoot him down.
Right here.
But now it's going to be a 2v4. KO is a bit hurt. Could get healed up by Raiden here if they just do so. But no, they're looking to take that retake. Demo with the flank, the big brain flank here. If able to pick out one. Oh, okay. That is one indeed. Now making it the 3v2. Sees Toshi's shoulder. Manages to get rid of Toshi. The turret comes
Right here.
out. Oh, Linux chasing
One enemy remaining.
but just like that, the time runs down. Hunter Fury just gonna get used here for the giggles, and just like that, 4.
Last round in the half.
Was it curious? That was the. Sorry, I'm a little bit fragile because that really Akuma confused me. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they faked like that. They faked the other team so hard that they faked. And I'm a casting, so that's crazy. But I mean, that was a 4v2, right? And the way that how well they played that 2v4, I know the main focus is gonna be on Demo, but how well they played it together. The sides not being nowhere near each other, they're moving that flank off into trees, and Ahira just not dying, being very, very patient, being aggressive when his time
Scout
came.
destroyed.
And I mean, perfectly played from Akuma, but they've been doing that the whole entire match.
Shadows traveling.
Yeah, we have to give kudos to how beautifully they were able to really sell that B site, and it started off with that recon bolt, right? That was such a beautiful recon bolt, and then the aggression coming out from the trees over onto the site. But now that we've traded,
Spike down
it's gonna be
A.
this A site. Wait, no, we're trading after this round, so. Akuma here, getting aggressive onto the safe side. They traded spots as we can tell here. The defenders are now onto the attacking side, but the bomb isn't in the possession of Akuma, so they have to go towards the defenders. It's good for one. Degrees says 2, make that 3! And now it's a 2v1 left to Icemello. He's not even in the same area code. Has to make his way downtown with that. From the shadows, goes over onto Wine, and I mean, we kind of expect this. As you can see, peeks the shoulder. Unfortunately, the toes are spotted by Degree. Not able to connect. The line comes through. It does blind the turret and KJ, but doesn't matter. Still has to make his way onto the site. Fake out the teleport. They don't know where he is. Okay, those shots are roll. He has one more teleport. Is he gonna teleport onto the site? I believe it. But Demo's not gonna allow it. An 8-4 at the half here, 1v.
Switching
He's
sides.
So nasty. Like, who is he? Who is this guy? He's so nasty.
Placing alarm bot.
All of those kills should not have happened from him. He gets, okay, fair enough. He gets maybe 1 or 2 kills from that position, but not all 4.
That's what happens when you have perfect crosshair placement.
Nah, man. That's what happens when you have a better gaming chair.
Gaming chair, tell us your gaming chair. Gaming mic, gaming mouse, gaming headset, monitor, everything.
You know what's crazy is I don't even have a gaming chair. I just
What?
sit in the oh dot. Yep.
Oh my goodness. We need to start a GoFundMe for you. Or maybe we might start a GoFundMe for
Turret
Nameless
destroyed.
here as they try to bring their way back onto it. It's going to be an aggressive team push. And this is right, as there's only just 2 folks of Akuma onto the site. The teleport happens through. The switch door is closed. They just have to worry about the backseat. Recon Bolt, though, gives away the position of Toshi, who's in a pickle here. Hira gets killed by Lennox. Now a friend is onto the site. The bomb's going to be able to get planted. We have to worry about the Sky being very, very low on
Spike
health.
planted.
And Victoris does have a sheriff in hand. Actually, a lot of the members of Nameless is very hurt. Right click doesn't work out for Raven.
Player
Smelly
standing.
also tried
One
to make that
enemy
right click work,
remaining.
but now it's down to Toshi. Nades, paint shards get invested. Degrees is low, but so is Toshi. We get a one-shot off, and Toshi keeping the dream alive and giving us that point.
We said a lot of negative things about Toshi on Split, and I mean, he's positive at the moment, just positive. But you know, what a better time, what better round to turn up for your team and to pull them over the finish, or not over the finish line, but over that into that round win. And on the first round where, you know, you're down a couple and now you're on your attacks on an otherwise CC favored map. It's gonna be a good save though from Akuma, who decide to play this round a little bit more aggressively, give the B site up to Nameless. And it looks like maybe they're just gonna play for like easy picks on the retake.
Makes sense. You have the weapon disadvantage, although we have seen Degrees. Every one of Akuma's players actually has gotten some nasty shots with some less than desirable weapons. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens coming out. They're gonna go for this push, but Smelly smells them from miles away and is able to get that 2K, looking to potentially make that up to 3K. But the defenders here gonna take mark position. There is another neutral already out there, but it doesn't matter. Raiden said spray and pray. I'm just gonna go for it, full sending it. I don't give 2 shenanigans, and gets that 2K. No, I never curse while casting.
While casting, but
IRL, it's a different story here, folks. I'm sure if I was in a comp game, I'd be like, "What the Lips are you doing?" And I'm sure that is exactly what Akuma is thinking. Like, why would they go over to that B site? We stacked A, but now they read the message. All right, probably like be a lot more, give them that fake confidence. There is that one-way smoke, and that's something that I do not enjoy about Nameless. They like to be very cheeky and aggress onto one-way smoke. So gonna have to reposition with that nade coming out from Shatter. Very good nade. Gets blinded, swings through Shadow. Shattered able to connect with one, looking for the second one, but Raiden just plays it nice and slow. Jiggle peeks, and hey, they're at your door here. Raiden goes down. Bomb no is onto that mid section. The KJ utility is there, so unfortunately they're not gonna be able to fully aggress. Instead, gonna be looking at different angles to hit on through teleport. For Smelly is gonna allow for that deep back position to be available. If Smelly plays his cards right, he may be able to capitalize on 2, just as long as the double swing doesn't come on through. Gets 1, sprays and prays, gets the second, and just like that, there is hope once again for Nameless here.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, the Shattered is not playing any game. The Lake Lurk does come on through, and just like that, we're about to go into double digits if this round goes right for Akuma.
It's a bit of a weird one for Akuma as well, considering the fact that they lost 2 players. It was a 5v3 at first, and that almost was on his head due to like some really good repositioning from Ice. Fortunately, enough for Akuma. They were able to pull out with the win. They're able to still buy up some weapons. The Guardian and Inspector. Just to name a few, but they still do keep their 3 rifles that they retained in the last rounds due to 3 players who had different rifles.
Oh man, with this oozing confidence coming out of Shatter. Gets to bit of a KJ turret, and I'm just gonna double peek because I have no fear. And just as we know, folks, the walls on Valorant are paper thin, so All-Star does get some damage off. Pops flash through and is still progressing over onto this B main. From the shadows comes through. Oh, Toshi being able to trade off his fellow friend here, and the A site is in control of Nameless here, but little do they know they're gonna have to worry about this retake.
Franks. All the way in trees, you have two players rotating with each other. I think, yeah, Franks are gonna be rotating with one another. Shattered is going to be down, and that was active shutting down those abilities of these hackers on the site, but he is going to be revitalized. They're going to be rotating up onto heaven, retaking that position, but
One enemy remaining. Last player standing.
and now it's almost down to a 1v1, but here is able to win it out.
Wait, is there enough time? No, there's not. There's no time.
That animation went through just right at the last second. I said yes, and then that animation went through, and I was like, oh.
That was nicely played by Nameless. I like the blind. That blind was so beautifully done by Icemelly. He was able to get 2 picks off. Unfortunately, though, there was a little bit of miscommunication from, I believe it was All-Star and Icemelly, because All-Star got killed by the Soba. I don't think that that position was given away from the Soba. I don't think All-Star said, hey, he's by triple, because the blind was so awkwardly repositioned by Icemelly afterwards. It was just weird. But hey, they bought enough time to win them that round and just give them that 2-point disadvantage. So they could mess around here a little bit more as the weapon disadvantage does come on through for Akuma. They do have some hero weapons, but a demo? Demo with the 3K, just beautifully spraying through the smoke, knows exactly where the heads of Akuma are, and I'm sorry, Nameless are, and now it's just left to 2 here, Wumby.
Hulk out! Blinded. I gotta say, Demo just cut the cameras. I think Nameless will want to forget about that round. You saw 2 players that smoke cut off the vision from Demo, and he's still able to just spray down onto that garage push. It's all 3 of those players. 2 of them were trying to go down.
Last player standing.
So the smoke shattered. Able to pick up that player. All the now last player quickly shut down by Demo. And that is the 10th round on the board from Akuma, and a flawless off the back of Demo, just spraying through the smoke into B main. And I mean, you called that luck, but I say it's all skills.
It's all muscle memory. Muscle memory at its finest there.
Placing
Like you
swamp
said,
grenade.
Akuma down to double digits and might be looking to make this the 11th round, as Nameless is down to just a Sheriff and some classics. Although, we have seen some crazy classic kills from Toshi, maybe even Lineage and Raiden. By the way, let's talk about Raiden. Raiden was a player that we were just babbling on about, giving so many praises to on Split, and now is actually fallen quite slowly here on the leaderboard. 6 and 14, having a hard time onto the sky, and not really capitalizing for his team.
Yeah, I mean, a couple players have also fallen off as well from Split, but then you saw players who weren't performing well on Split perform well on Ascent. I mean, we have Icemelly, who's positive. I don't really think he had a good game on Split, but Toshi as well, doing a lot better. Dying ass quickly. What is quick is this quickly 18. Fight the both players
Spike down
just
A.
rushed right through it, but right into the line of the 2 Akuma players, and one of them had a classic to cut him off. So he's able to trade back. But there's a turret to take down Smelly.
Chicken's still doing damage. All-Star has to reposition. Toshi just says, you know what, I'm just gonna send it
30
here
seconds left.
with the showstopper. Toshi's still alive, has to go for the... Oh my gosh, just get rid of the turret, All-Star. I don't think All-Star wants to give away the position because has the purple alert.
standing.
The shots just don't connect. And I honestly think that if All-Star would have got rid of that turret, Toshi would have had a lot more impact coming on to that round. But
I think
just little things, man.
I think Toshi also expected the turret to be destroyed by that point
Yeah.
because it looked like he was a little bit surprised by that turret's position. Either that or the communication from Nameless isn't all there despite I Smelly dying from that turret. Maybe Smelly didn't communicate that the turret was on the top of his concrete slab in that corner of the A site. And I guess that's something to look to talk about on Split. And I'm hoping that's not the issue here.
Oh my goodness. Kira. Stop it right now. Stop. Just stop. What is this through the smoke kills? I am offended because every time I play
Spike
I
down,
spread
B.
through the smoke, it never catches anybody out. So the fact that these players are catching left and right kills, I'm offended here. Valorant, you hate me, confirmed, and lockdown coming down for Akuma too.
Last player standing.
Give it a little more spice. It's like, yeah, you guys could have sight, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have bomb. Like Kira catches the All-Star trying to come back, get the spike, and just like that, match point, baby.
Match point.
That was a very expensive round as well for Nameless Esports, but I add. And now on match point for Akuma against arguably the best weapons you could have in a round, Nameless Esports are forced into a bye. They do have one gun, the Vandal, and also they do have another assault rifle in the Bulldog, but they have 2 Spectres and a Marshal. Mind you, Akuma's on match point right now. This is not looking too good for Nameless Esports. And Akuma, they have that momentum, they have that grab to keep on winning, and you have to push in the drives and
Oh, and slowly it's starting to fall apart as 2 members of Nameless Esports go down over onto that A main. Omen is stuck in a pickle too here. As you can see, Degrees is holding on
You
to
should run.
this angle like a hawk. Now pushing out with an operator, but hey, you have an Omen in your back to help you out. Pops a shot. I smell
Last player standing.
but hey, the
Spike
trade-off
down,
is there
mid.
for Franks, and now the spike is down. All-Star has been pinged. Just like that, it is still
Defenders
the
win.
undefeated team of the VLS. Akuma going to playoffs, or semifinals, I should say.
just a very disappointing end to that round, especially when you consider Ice Melly's position in mid. He was nowhere near his team to help them get down us. He had spike too, so he was nowhere near his team to help them get down that spike. He used that paranoia, and I thought the paranoia gave away his position, but it didn't look like Degrees was none too wiser. Unfortunately, maybe if Smelly had maybe been a bit more patient, he could have got himself 2-1, but instead he only got himself 1 kill. Was immediately shut down after that. But again, that was a half buy. A forced buy from Nameless Esports against the best weapon kit you could get in the game from Akuma, who were really comfortable in that round just due to how stacked they were in their economy.
Yeah, just beautifully done. I want to give a shout out to Demo, who went 21, 10, and 6 as a KJ. And I love me a KJ, a really good KJ on Ascent. We always talked about how Chamber is the all-star sentinel right now, right? Because he essentially could do the job of a Jet and get the free operator. But this time around, I love the fact that Akuma decided not to bring out the Chamber and bring out the KJ, and the KJ be the all-star. I think a lot of times there was that turret creating so much chaos for Nameless. There was those mollies, dispositioning, doing so much damage that the rest of Akuma could just literally breathe on Nameless and get kills. So I think it's just it is a lot of team composition for Akuma. They're able to communicate really well, and when you have really good intel, I have to also give kudos to Ahira. Ahira just did phenomenal with the Hunter's Fury, the recon bolts. We saw that really cheeky recon bolt over onto that B site. I want to say it was like the 9th or 10th round that baited out the whole rotation from Nameless over onto that A site. That was just chef's kiss. So just a lot of all-stars No pun intended for the side of Akuma. What about for you, Wumby, before we take it to a quick break?
I do want to echo your thoughts about both Demo and Ahir. First, I do want to talk about Demo. Not really in his KDA, but his ACA and also his econ rating. His econ rating was a total of 90, and his ACA was a total of 297. And what that tells me is that he's getting a lot of usage out of his utility, and he's using his utility well in order for his teammates to thrive. But not only were his teammates thriving, he was also thriving too in that kill department. You also have to give kudos or credit where credit is due, especially for Shattered, who got 5 first bloods, the most on his team. As well for a hero, you talked about his ability with the recon darts, but he was doing that stuff as well on split with Fade a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on, you can't really pick out. I don't think I can pick an MVP for Akuma because all of them just did their jobs. Yes, Franks was at the bottom of the leaderboard, and yes, there were a lot of times where you look at the scoreboard for some of the Akuma players, and you think, well, they don't have the most impressive stat lines. You'll give it to the players with the highest kills. But I felt like even despite the KDA or even the non-impressive KDA by maybe the viewers, I was very impressed by what I saw out of them gameplay wise. It was amazing Valorant to watch from the whole Akuma team. And you know what? That's the difference here today between Akuma and Nameless Esports is that Akuma just played better as a team. They played better in their roles than Nameless Esports did.
Absolutely. And we are going to have an interview from one of the players of Akuma. We don't quite know who yet, so we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere if you'd like to hear from Akuma. Welcome back, folks, and we are here with Degrees. Hello, Degrees. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. Thank you. How are yourself?
We are doing great. So let's talk about the match that just happened. How did you feel about Nameless? Were there any things you were surprised that they did?
They're a pretty good team. I think we have the upper hand. They picked split, which we don't really play that much, but I still like won somehow. They surprised us with their comps. It's like really weird, and yeah.
Was there any specific moment where you felt on split, because it was a very close match on split,
hmm
that you guys would potentially lose it?
No, not really. We always knew like we were just like the better team. We just had like more confidence and stuff. We just gotta like know what we needed to do together. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Mm.
And let's talk about your sub. If it's a sub, I would assume you guys did not play with Pumpkin. You guys played with I'm sorry, I'm blanking here.
We had no sub.
No, no. Okay, so it was just your sixth player.
Wait, are we talking about Frank's?
Yes, thank
Frank's
you.
is the fifth. We had a
I
sub
see.
last time.
Oh,
with
okay.
the
So
side.
Pumpkin's next year's sub.
Yeah, he's our
Oh
coach.
my gosh. Okay, that's
Oh.
amazing. Okay, wow. Okay, coach came in and played last one. Okay,
Mhm.
now who are you excited to play in the semis and who would you like to see at the finals if you guys make it that far?
Semis, I'm not too worried about. Finals, I'd like to go against ODG because we actually met in ranked and they were kind of like talking smack. So gotta sit them down.
Ooh. I love it.
But yeah, it'll probably be clean anyway. So
Mm.
We like it. Oh, all right, 1B, any other questions from you?
not
The
really. No, AKM win.
the only question I had really was about your composition on Ascent. It was a really good composition. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's your average composition that you would get. It's as
Hmm.
fundamental as can be. But the one toss up that I had, or that I predicted you guys would do, was pick the fade over the Sova, because a lot of teams do like to do it, and I wonder like if there's any preference for Sova over fade, or if it was just like just a decision that you guys made in that moment.
Okay. So we actually prefer Sova on this map.
Mm.
Fade is like good and stuff, but I think she's easily countered on this map because you can read what your opponents are gonna do with their Yuto. So we're used to Sova and we just stuck with it because we think it's better and we're used to it.
Okay, fair enough. I guess another thing that I wanted to ask was, out of anyone on your team, because I said that it was like pretty hard to pick an MVP today, and I still stick by that because I'm having a hard time choosing who I liked the most on your team. But if you had to pick somebody who you thought pulled you over the finish line in order to advance to the semis, who would you pick?
Uh I'm gonna have to say, well, firstly, I want to shout out to all my teammates. They're all amazing and played all
Oh.
really well. But I think someone in particular today that like helped us a lot is probably my boy Demo. He's played amazing first map and second map, good comms and everything. Anchored his site as the sentinel. So like yeah.
Yeah, he did an amazing job on
Hmm.
Cipher, or not Cipher. Oops, sorry, don't listen to me. Not Cipher. No, it was Cipher. Sorry, yes, it was Cipher on Six. I have a bad memory. I do write this stuff down. I promise. I just generally have a terrible memory. He did an amazing job on Cipher, especially on your guys' defense on Split, and also on KJ on both the attack and the defense as well. When you guys switched, I thought he did an amazing
Hmm.
job as well. Um, is there any final thoughts that you'd have to say about your guys' performance, and also maybe even on Nameless as well, maybe some words of encouragement for Nameless, because I felt like they did an amazing job as well today.
Yeah, they did pretty good. I think they just gotta keep playing and they'll get better obviously.
Mm, okay.
Very great. Thank you so much, Degree. We appreciate your time and we look
Thank
forward
you,
to
thank
seeing you
you.
in the semis and potentially the finals as well. Um,
Hmm.
GG, Akuma, and
GG's.
we'll catch you next time.
Akuma win.
Akuma win. We love it. All right, folks. Well, you have gone a poll in the chat and you guys picked who you personally thought was the MVP of Akuma, and we have it here for you. Drum roll, please. Franks, what do you think here, Wumby?
um yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I thought most definitely people would have picked, Degrees or
Mm-hmm.
Gira, but Frank's makes a lot of sense. I believe even Degrees said it himself that Frank's had a lot of good, clean. No, sorry, that was not Frank's. My fault. That was Dano again. Bad memory. But Frank's, I felt like, had a really solid role on the Omen on both Split and Ascent. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily your lurker. I felt like that was most definitely in Shatter's favor, but I felt like his ability to smoke and help enable his teammates with his paranoias, because that's another thing that Akuma were really good at. I said that during the match, that they were really good at using their util in order to force Nameless Esports out of certain positions in order to enable their fraggers. And I felt like that was the same thing with their flashes when they were trying to rush a certain area without Nameless Esports looking. They not only used the flashes, but they also used the smokes as well to cut off vision. So again, that makes a lot of sense, but I feel like you could have picked anybody from Akuma and I would have said yes. Checkmark, yes.
Checkmark confirmed. Well, with that, folks, that does bring us on to the end of our show. I am so happy that we got to cast this together here, 1B chat. I hope you guys enjoyed. We got some really good gameplay coming out. We don't yet have any more information on the last two matches, but I know that Akuma will be playing either against V.exe or Esports at UCD Gold, so that will be the next match if you want to catch Akuma. That's going to be July 21st at 7 p.m. ET. And with that, reminder, if you want to sign up, if you think you got a team that could come and compete against any one of these teams, go on over to the Victoris Discord channel or even on Twitter, and you can head on over and sign up for the fall season. With that, I have been QNoob. This is
1B.
This is 1B, and shout out to our producer in the back, Mr. Fantastic. We see you. We appreciate you. And from here, Victorious League, we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.